Good morning, so that everybody knows what we're doing. On Friday, we will try drawing each other. And I think it's a nice way to be together, is to look, to really look at another face and have a measurement and look and see and start drawing from each other's face. So bring a piece of paper, a pencil on Friday. Today, we're also going to be drawing, but first we have a little slideshow. Is everybody well? Grace, are you doing okay?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. Natalie?
Okay.
Are you breathing? Right? We have only a week and a half left. The school part is easy. The rest of your lives, that's a whole different story. But one moment at a time, and we'll get through it. So this week is about setting up space. Do you have time for yourself? Do you have space for yourself? Grace, do you have some space to work and to create in?
Yeah, I try to create so.
Nice. Excellent. I mean, your whole house is yours, right? We tend to think that the house is, or the apartment is, for living or for kitchen or whatever, but that space that you create is just, it's claim a bit of it and dance in it, sing in it, whatever you need to do what you need to do in it. Alberto, how are you doing? Being the only man on the phone call. Are you good?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Good morning. All right, so we're going to start with a PowerPoint presentation. I want to show you some more art because that's what we're here for. I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to start with one of the most iconic images in art history, which is Da Vinci's Vitruvian Man. So this image rocked both the scientific world as well as the religious world in the Renaissance. So Da Vinci made these measurements, and he found out that if you spread your arms out, right, from middle finger to middle finger. So for me, that's arm span would be 5 foot 2 inches because that's my height. So if you stretch out your full arms, you make a perfect square. And when you're standing, okay, your arm span is as big as you are tall. Okay, so that's one measurement. So we make a perfect square. The other thing is when you reach out your arms and your feet from your navel, from your belly button to the middle finger, you will have a radius of a circle. Okay, so he found these measurements out that when you are standing perfectly straight with your arms across, from your middle finger to your middle finger is the same thing as your height. And then if your arms are spread, you have from your navel right directly to your middle finger, you have the circumference of a circle. And the church really loved this image because they said, see, there's geometry, and geometry has always been thought of as sacred. So this mathematical formula behind the human proportions. And so it's been, this is the image that people put on their t-shirts and everything. It's an iconic image for people throughout history of the perfect man. The Vitruvian Man is supposed to be the perfect epitome of man. But however, contemporary doctors, let's see if someone's having a hard time getting in. Contemporary doctors saw this image and they realized that there is a hernia that this man has in his groin. He's either Da Vinci's either using a cadaver to measure from, or he's using someone who's about to die. So this idea of perfection, we're talking about how perfection is imperfect, and how this idea of to be perfect, to strive to be perfect, or to strive to be something is not really, it shouldn't really be the goal. I think we have to recognize our own imperfections, whatever they are, right? Or realize that our imperfections are in fact perfect. So this idea of a perfect human form comes from I'm sorry. This will be narrated so that for those of you who missed the slideshow, you will always have the advantage of listening to it on your own time. This idea of measurements and proportions of the body comes from an earlier time. It comes from the Greeks, and it's also about having the proportions of the body in the mathematical formula. There's these idealized forms, these idealized figures, these idealized mathematical formulas. And by the way, they're still around, right? In magazines or whatever, the women are still depicted. We still do touch-ups in Photoshop where people completely change the face before it goes into publishing. So there's these notions of how a body is supposed to be structured, and it falls really back in our history. It's really a strange kind of concept, but they're still nevertheless around, right? The bodybuilders and all that stuff. So it comes from the Greeks, but as you can tell, this is not a particular man. With the Greeks, hold on 1 second. With the Greeks, it was if you look at his expression, if you look at his face, it's pretty much the expression and standard of all the Greek statues. It's not identified. It's not that particular person. Sometimes they had a beard to mark the particularities of that human, but most of the times it was very generalized. It was very standard. It was, and this came from before in Egyptian times, where it was a standardized way to draw a face or to sculpt a body. So it's not a particular person that they're sculpting. And in fact, this kind of idealized body, they would have Socrates, this old man on his deathbed, but he would have the buff body of a 20-year-old man, these muscles and everything. So they had this misconstrued idea of ideal, but the reality, of course, was that Socrates was not a 20-year-old guy with muscles before he committed suicide, drinking the poison. He was an old man, or older man. I'm not sure how old Socrates was. So we go to contemporary London, and this is a statue of Alison Lopper. And her sculpture was put on Trafalgar Square, and the people, there was an uproar about the sculpture. So can you tell me, from looking at the image, what do you think, why do you think there would be an uproar? Think about who we put in sculptures. Who are the people that go on sculptures? And of course, right now, a lot of the Confederate statues are coming down. So think about who it was that was put up in the first place and why. Who are those people that are put up in our squares? Any ideas? Or why do you think this sculpture was not caused a stir? Why do you think, Natalie? What do you think?
Because of, her apparent nakedness. Remember, in England, they're grown, their culture is to be conservative. So having
she's naked. Yeah.
A sculpture with her breast and her stomach and everything being exposed, and it looks like she doesn't have arms and stuff as well. So it deviates from the perception that they would like the world to vision.
Mm-hmm. So she was in fact born without arms. She has a disability. She doesn't have arms. But the people that we put up on squares are heroes, right? Like usually it's the people who won the battle or whatever. And generally they're military or someone on a horse, or a male who won whatever battle or whatever. But to this sculptor, he decided to create a sculpture of her because to him she was a hero. She's not only naked, she's also she doesn't have arms, and at the same time she's also pregnant. Okay, so all these layers people really kind of found either offensive or for whatever reason. But for her, when she was in art school, she finally realized that her body was beautiful when she looked at the Venus de Milo. Venus de Milo in Greek times is heralded as the #1 beauty in Greek whatever, right? There was this myth about Venus de Milo being the Venus of the beauty. And she, of course, in Greek times, the statues often lose their noses because that protrudes out from the sculpture, as well as the arms. They're extra sort of appendages that are loose marble, and they fall off. And so for her, when she saw that in fact she didn't have arms, and was heralded as this #1 beauty, for the first time she looked at her own body as something beautiful. Not only that, but because she was pregnant and she raised her son single-handedly, she was a single mom. She would carry the baby swaddled in her teeth. There's videos of her. She's actually a painter. So here is the modern day Alison Lopper. I'm going to just move this. So she's here. You can see her. She's painting. This is her son that she raised. And she actually painted the painting on the left. She paints with a brush in her teeth. and does paintings like the ones to the left. So those of you who think that you're not good at painting or whatever, there's no excuse, right? If we have hands, even if you paint with your feet, I had a classmate who was again without hands, so he was painting with his feet. It was just incredible to be able to get right, just to take your disability and change it and actually come out and see it from a different perspective, that you in fact have all the skills that you need. It's pretty amazing. So to him, for the sculptor of this sculpture, for him, she definitely was a hero. And he defended the work, and it stayed on Trafalgar Square, which is great. Another person who challenged this notion of the body and why it's important to have a sculpted or a visual of a person was Nona Faustin. She did these series in New York on throughout spaces in New York. But she had, obviously, if she was to do this photograph, she had to ask the authorities to be able to do this photograph. You can't just go through, sorry about that. You can't go through New York City and naked, right, and take a photograph. So she had to talk to the police. She had to make sure and tell people why it's relevant. Why do you think it's relevant for her to stand in the middle of Wall Street in New York? Any ideas as to the significance of that? Why do you think, and I mean, she had to, you know, she didn't stop traffic, the taxis were going by. In fact, this was the auction block for slaves in New York City was on Wall Street. So she tied this image to art history. She had to convince the authorities that this is in fact a very important image for her to put her body there, to be able to challenge what Wall Street was and the understanding and the history behind Wall Street and its connection to slavery. So these challenges, right, and these notions of changing things. This is a chair that is meant for an institution like a school, and for children with ADHD, or this this idea of the disorder that we call ADHD. And with this, what this artist did was she took a pencil at the bottom, and she had the pencil on each corners of the chair, because you're meant to sit down in school in chair, right? That's what they, for long hours, you have to sit on chairs. So what she did was she put pencils at the bottom of this chair so that when the child fidgeted and moved around, because we're not meant as children or even as adults to be sitting for the long periods of time that we're sitting down. And certainly for children, for 8 hours a day to sit in a classroom seems ridiculous. So this artist decided that she would design a chair where when you make a movement with the chair, it in fact makes a drawing. And that empowers the child that in fact they're making something beautiful, even when they're doing this action that they usually not praised for in school, right? If they're fidgeting or moving. So this is a piece that hopefully will be implemented in some schools to get rid of this notion that a disorder is something that doesn't serve us. In fact, it's part of who we are, and it's maybe not the disorder that's wrong, it's maybe the label that the culture puts on us, because again, children are not meant to sustain sitting for a long period of time. All right, so think about this idea this week of your perfect imperfections, whatever they are, right? And we're going to start doing a abstract drawing from the idea that we have innate geometry within our structure. And you don't even have to think twice about it. It just comes out of your hands. It comes out of your body because you have this innate math in you. I wanted to show you the work of Heather Hansen, and then we're going to go into our exercise of a Zentangle. So if you have a pencil and paper or a pen or whatever you have, we'll do that next. Heather Hansen was a dancer, and all of this again will be in my RCC. And she noticed that when she danced, she left a trace of her movement in the sand. So she decided to put a stick of charcoal and just do her choreography and do her dance while she was creating her work. So you can see that she, as she's dancing, as she's moving, she basically has charcoal in her hands. And then she comes up with these designs and patterns that in fact are very much like plants, or if you look at the insides of flowers, you get these organic shapes. So it's close to the Vitruvian Man. It's not a perfect circle, but there is a geometry, and it's basically done through dancing. So the movement that you do when you're listening to music or you're just tuning out, and if you just have pencil and paper in your hand, it doesn't matter what it looks like in the end. It's just another way of drawing. There's many different ways to draw. One is the technical way where you really get proportions and everything correct and the space looks like space. The other one is when you just let go. There's a relevance to and purpose to drawing, not for necessarily making it look like something, but just for the sheer pleasure of doing it, right? And we often don't give that enough value, that just because it feels good to do. So what we're doing today is called a Zentangle. Zentangle is basically a doodle that you continue. So if you were a child when you were in school and if you were bored with your teachers and started drawing on the side of the paper, or when you were younger, when you were little, if you like to draw with a stick in the dirt, right? It's one of those activities that is enjoyable to see your mark. We are going to look at Zentangles are basically doodles that are made bigger. There are some instructional videos, but Zentangles don't have to look like anything. So let me just show you some images of Zentangles. They're basically just patterns that if you make one line, you continue the line and you can draw and shade in the line. You can make the line thinner and thicker, and then you just continue repeating the line in various places. And again, it's something that you can't recognize from beforehand. You just make a line and continue and continue and continue. So we're going to put some music on. We're going to take a, you can do this with a pen. You don't have to have a pencil. And here's a quick instructional. So again, you can start with one line and you can continue. You can bisect it, you can draw in it, you can color it in, you can, it's a doodle.
Wow.
Hey, come over here.
You make a line, you create, you keep drawing, you keep going as long as you feel like drawing, okay? You can continue making more and more details as you go. So I'm gonna put on some good music. Hopefully you'll be able to hear it. Take a couple of pencil, pen. You don't have to erase in this one because there's no mistakes, okay? You're just continue doing and drawing as you go. All right. Let's get what's some nice, Natalie, recommend some music to me, or Alberto, what's some nice music we can listen to this morning? Give me a name of an artist that you like to listen to. It could be anyone.
Pink Floyd.
Say it one more time.
Pink Floyd.
Pink Floyd?
Yeah.
Okay. Play some Pink Floyd. I haven't played Pink Floyd in years. All right.
You do it every year.
All right. Except for the commercials, which will be interrupted. I want you to take your pen. You can draw, by the way, with your opposite hand. You don't have to draw with just one hand. We have two. We often neglect the other one, right? So you can take both hands, listen to the music, and just see what happens. Feel out what your hands want to do. Dance on the page. Again, there's no erasing. You don't have to worry about what it's coming out like.
Little things in life are easy to take for granted, like getting away from the kids for brownie time.
So as you can see, you can do this for 20 minutes, you can do it for a half an hour, you can do it as long as you want. As long as you want that break, you can continue this kind of drawing. Put on the music that you enjoy. That's the key, is to put on and connect to something so that you can let go. It again doesn't have to look like anything in the end. It's not something that you can preconceive that it's going to look like. You're just responding as you go. And it's very interesting what it turns out like, things that you don't expect. So this is the exercise for today. I am going through all your student surveys for the final. There has now been the grading policy for how the final is going to be graded is on the MyRCC. So just have a look at that. I'm expecting that you are working on something that gives you either pause or pleasure, or something that you has a strong concept, an idea behind it that you are going to manifest. You're going to take this idea and you're going to create it in either two-dimensional form or three-dimensional form, or it could be a video, a dance, a song, a poem, whatever your medium is, whatever material you have lying around, change it into art. Any questions for today? Any questions or thoughts about today, about this way of drawing? And if you're just drawing, that's great. Again, you can put these into the discussion forum so that we can have a look and see the drawings, because they're very unlike and very different from the technical drawings that we do. Okay, Grace, any questions? Natalie, any ideas or thoughts or concerns? Sure. For the rest of you who are watching this video, if I haven't seen you, especially if you're not on these phone calls, please send me an email, because I need to make sure that we are keeping track with the assignments. You have 3 done so far. This week, we're going to have a 4th one. You're to photograph either your studio space that you're creating in, or just carving some time and space. I know it's hard to do, to carve out a space for yourself, but anywhere that makes you feel good. This could be underneath a tree, in a park, by the beach, whatever makes you feel good. Carol, any questions?
Did you got my today, this morning?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, not a problem. It takes me, give me about 2 days to go through the grades, because it takes me a while to make
No,
my
that's
way
all
through
right.
the
I just
class.
want to make sure you got it.
No problem. Natalie, questions?
Yes. I wasn't in class on Monday, and I was trying to play the video that you sent, but I didn't get access to the link. An error kept coming up, so I don't know if it is. You can probably repost it.
On the last class, the one that was important from the last class, the video?
Monday, yeah, Monday. Yeah.
Okay, I'll have a look at that in YouTube. Let me see if I can, these will, for me to understand and hear you. Yeah, I'll look at it in YouTube and make sure that there might have been something with YouTube that was a glitch, and I'll resend that video again then. Anyone else have trouble with it?
Pardon me?
I'm just wondering if anyone else had a trouble watching the last video from our class. Okay. All right, I'll resend it. I'll resend it your way. Okay.
Okay, I appreciate it. And I just wanted to get some clarification. So the other assignment that's outstanding, I know I'm working on my final project, which I submit the survey for you this morning. I just want to know if there's anything else outstanding besides the face, the portrait of myself.
No. So again, the coursework is the core, right? There's each project in the coursework is about 20% of your grade. So the coursework is really important to get. The exercises are going to be on top of your grade, so they're going to boost your grade. They're not going to take away from your grade. Although some of you, if you haven't put anything in the discussion forum, it's a place where you can exchange ideas and you can see each other's work. Just because we don't have a formal classroom, this is a way for all of you to see the work that you've been doing. So it's a great idea to participate in it so that it can in fact boost your grade, but it will not take away from your grade. Okay. That's a good question. And I'll stress, I'll do a little bit more of a formal breakdown of the final project and some examples of good final projects from previous classes. Again, it could be in any medium that you choose. If your style and if your creativity comes out in cooking, if you make a fantastic meal, you can document that, you can video that, you can video yourself cooking, you can have a photograph of your family eating this wonderful meal. So the final project is really yours, okay? It just needs to have a strong idea. You have to believe in what you're doing, you know, and understand why it's art. Why is it that this is your way of sort of showing your idea forward or bringing your idea forward. Grace, Carol, any questions?
Oh, no.
No. Are you finding, did you carve some space on your desk at work for yourself?
Yes, I show the mess, and I also show the clean area that I
Okay.
created.
It's nice. It's really interesting, right? When you declutter that space, it becomes, that space becomes a nicer, you know, we all know that cleaning makes a nicer
But
place to live in. No.
I so appreciate you bring that up, because I keep procrastinating that area a long time. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it.
Are you kidding? We all do that, right? Before I paint, I have to clean the whole house, and the house is never clean. So I spend 90% cleaning. Painting, by the way, is exactly like doing the dishes. It's never done, and you're just scrubbing and scrubbing and scrubbing away at it. It's the same process. So if you know how to do dishes really well, you know how to paint. Grace, any questions? Okay. I will leave you to your drawing. When you are done, take a photograph of whatever came out, right? Whether it's abstract, whatever crazy marks that you have on the page. If it's, you can do it in color. You don't have to do it in color. It could be in black and white. And drop it into the discussion forum. I would love to see them. And I will see you again on Friday. We are going to go over the final. We also, if you have video capability on your camera or phone or whatever you're using to log into this class, I would love for us to sit and take some time to really study each other and draw each other. We're going to sit, we're going to look from previous classes, we're going to look and we're going to sketch. We're going to sketch these faces. We're going to go over the proportions again, just so that you can feel comfortable. You know, you can go to wherever and sit with your family and start drawing their portraits if they inspire you. So on Friday, it would be great to, first of all, for me to see everybody, because I don't get a chance to do that. And then we can do that kind of exchange. So have a piece of pencil ready. And again, there's no pressure. It's not going to look like that other person. That's okay. We're just going to look at each other. And that's the main part of Friday. All right. It'll be fine. It'll be good. All right. Good job. Make sure that you take some breaks for yourself today. Take a little bit of time away from work. As always, find those moments. And I will see you on Friday. Those of you, if you have any questions, or if you have any outstanding coursework that you have questions about, please come in today at 6:30 or call me on that phone. I have that listed in announcements and news on my RCC. So just give me a phone call during office hours, and we can talk about grades, or we can discuss anything that you might need. Okay?
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Pleasure,
Pleasure.
everyone.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.